Captain John Smith sat in silence, staring at the flickering stars on the view screen. His hand hovered over the worn control panel, as if willing the ship to respond. The hum of the engines had become a comforting lullaby in the vast emptiness of space. It had been weeks since the wormhole had spat them out into the unknown. A sudden beep from the scanners jolted him from his reverie. A planet, and not just any planet. It was teeming with life. His heart raced as he leaned closer to the screen. The green and blue orb grew larger with every passing moment, a stark contrast to the black void that had been his constant companion. The captain's eyes narrowed as he studied the approaching world. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, with swirling clouds that danced in patterns untouched by the hand of nature. A feeling of excitement and unease grew in his chest. This could be their salvation or their doom. "Prepare for orbit," he barked to the crew. The bridge sprang to life with the urgent beeps of consoles and the shuffle of feet. The ship's AI responded with a calm, orbital parameters calculated and locked in. The captain took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. The alien captain's spaceship emerges from a wormhole and finds an unusual planet with life. He feels both excitement and fear as he orders the crew to prepare for orbit, revealing a planet with unique cloud formations that suggest something unnatural. As the spaceship descended through the alien atmosphere, the captain's gaze remained fixed on the planet. The surface grew clearer, revealing sprawling land masses separated by deep oceans. He felt his curiosity piqued by the untouched beauty before him. This was a new chapter in their journey, one filled with promise and danger. The ship trembled slightly as it entered the planet's gravitational pull. The captain's grip tightened on the armrests of his chair. He had been through this 100 times before, but the anticipation never faded. The thrill of discovery was what had drawn him to this line of work. The planet grew closer, its majesty overwhelming. The captain could make out the intricate patterns of forests, the sprawling cities, and the majestic mountains. The diversity of life was astonishing. He had never seen such a variety of colors, shapes, and sizes. "Life signs detected," the AI announced, its voice a monotonous yet welcome interruption to the quiet. The captain nodded, his mind racing. Who or what awaited them? Would they be friend or foe? His thoughts were interrupted by a series of beeps. The ship's systems were picking up something unusual, a signal, faint and alien, beckoning from the surface. The captain's ship descends into the planet's atmosphere, revealing diverse landscapes and a signal from the surface. His excitement for exploration is tinged with caution as they detect life signs and prepare to engage with potential inhabitants. Without hesitation, the captain ordered a scan. The data streamed in, the screens flickering with information. It was a message, but not in any language they recognized. Symbols and patterns danced across the screens, seemingly at random. Yet, there was an undeniable rhythm to it, something that spoke to his very core. The ship broke through the clouds, revealing a vast, gleaming city below. It was unlike anything they had ever seen in their galaxy. The buildings soared into the sky, constructed from materials that shimmered in the light. The captain felt a mix of awe and caution. This was a civilization far more advanced than their own. "Ready the shuttle," he instructed his crew. They had come too far and seen too much to turn back now. The captain knew that this could be their chance to learn, to make peaceful contact, or to face an unknown threat. As the shuttle doors hissed open, he took one last look at his crew, their faces a mirror of his own apprehension. With a deep breath, the captain stepped onto the ramp, feeling the warm alien air brush against his skin. He took a moment to appreciate the gravity, so similar to their home planet. The team followed, armed with both weapons and words, ready to face whatever the city had in store for them. The shuttle descended smoothly, the city growing closer with every second. The landing was perfect, the shuttle touching down in a clearing just outside the city. The doors opened, and the captain was the first to step out, his boots crunching on the unfamiliar soil. The air was thick with the scent of blooming flora and a hint of something metallic. The city remained eerily silent, as if holding its breath, watching them. The crew fanned out, their eyes wide as they took in the grandeur around them. The buildings were alive with movement, but there was no sign of the inhabitants. The captain's hand rested on the butt of his weapon, his finger hovering over the activation button. The silence was unsettling. Suddenly, the air was pierced by a high-pitched whine, growing louder by the second. The crew tensed, turning in every direction, searching for the source. The captain's heart pounded in his chest as the noise grew to a deafening crescendo. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, it was gone. In its place, a gentle hum, resonating from the very ground beneath them. The silence was broken by a mechanical clanking, echoing through the deserted streets. A figure emerged from the shadows, its metallic body gleaming in the soft glow of the city lights. It was unlike any creature the captain had ever encountered. Tall, with multiple limbs and a multitude of eyes, it was a marvel of biological engineering. Or was it a machine? The creature's movements were fluid yet precise, and as it approached, the captain could see the intricate patterns etched into its exoskeleton. The creature stopped a few feet away, studying them with a disconcerting intensity. The captain raised his hand in a gesture of peace, his crew mimicking his actions. The creature cocked its head, as if considering their intentions. The captain's translator buzzed to life, a jumble of sounds spilling forth, but no coherent words. Then, the creature spoke, its voice a symphony of metallic tones and clicks. The translator word, working tirelessly to interpret the alien language. After a moment it spoke, "You are not from here. What is your purpose?" The captain's eyes widened, hope flickering. Maybe this encounter wouldn't be hostile after all. He replied, "We are explorers. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship." The creature's response was swift and clear. "Your intentions do not concern us. You are trespassers. Prepare to be judged by the elders." The city around them began to pulse with a vibrant energy, and the ground beneath their feet trembled. The captain's grip tightened on his weapon, his heart racing. This was it. They were either about to make history or become a footnote in an alien's ledger of conquest. The creature gestured, and a squad of similar beings emerged from the shadows, their forms a blend of biological and mechanical perfection. They advanced slowly, weapons at the ready. The captain's crew exchanged nervous glances, their own weapons held firmly in anticipation of battle. The captain stepped forward, his voice firm. "We mean no harm. We are lost. Our ship was pulled through a wormhole. We seek only to understand and learn from your people." The creature's eyes narrowed, the multitude of lenses focusing on him like a camera zooming in. The humming grew louder, a palpable tension filling the air. A beam of light shot from the creature's foremost limb, slicing through the air with a sound that seemed to cut through the very fabric of space itself. The captain barely had time to react before the beam struck the ground at his feet, sending a shockwave that threw him back. He tasted dirt as he landed hard, his ears ringing. His crew fanned out, weapons drawn, ready to protect their captain and their mission. The alien's eyes remained locked on the captain, unblinking as it spoke again. "You speak of peace, yet you come armed. Your intentions are as murky as the origins of your vessel. The elders will decide your fate." The squad of creatures surrounded them, their weapons trained on the captain and his crew. The captain pushed himself to his feet, dusting off his uniform. "We are peaceful explorers. Our weapons are a precaution, a means to protect ourselves, not to harm." His voice was steady despite the fear coursing through his veins. The creature paused, considering his words before finally nodding. "You will come with us," it said, its tone leaving no room for negotiation. The crew exchanged glances, but the captain nodded in understanding. This was their chance to show their peaceful intentions. They had no choice but to follow. The squad led them through the deserted streets, the echo of their boots the only sound. The buildings loomed above, silent witnesses to the unfolding drama. The captain couldn't shake the feeling of being studied, as if they were specimens in a zoo. As they approached the heart of the city, a colossal structure emerged from the gloom. It was a testament to the aliens' technological prowess, a gleaming bastion of power. The creature opened a hidden door, revealing a chamber bathed in a soft, pulsing light. Inside, a council of elders waited, their forms more ethereal and less defined than their guards. The captain took a step forward, his heart in his throat. This was it, the moment that would determine the fate of his crew and the future of their mission. He had to be convincing, to show them that they meant no harm, that they were not a threat. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught in his throat. The elders had already begun to communicate, their voices a cacophony of alien sounds. The creature that had first greeted them stepped forward, raising a limb to silence the others. It turned to the captain and spoke in the same metallic symphony, "You will be judged." The captain nodded, steeling himself for whatever lay ahead. This was the most critical point in their journey thus far. The fate of his people rested on his ability to communicate, to bridge the gap between species. He took a deep breath and stepped into the chamber, his crew following close behind. The elders' eyes bore into him, their forms shifting and changing as they spoke. The captain felt as if he were being dissected by their collective gaze. The translator in his ear buzzed frantically, trying to keep up with the barrage of alien words. "Speak," the lead elder demanded, its voice a thunderous rumble that seemed to shake the very air around them. The captain took a moment to compose himself before speaking. "We are explorers from a distant galaxy. We do not wish to harm or conquer. We only wish to learn from your people, to share our knowledge, and perhaps find a way home." The elders conferred in their unintelligible language, their forms flickering with light. The captain's crew remained tense, their weapons at the ready. The tension was palpable, a living thing that coiled around them like a snake waiting to strike. The captain felt a bead of sweat trickle down his spine. The lead elder spoke, its voice a guttural growl that the translator struggled to interpret. "Your arrival is not welcome. Our world is not a playground for lost wanderers. We have seen the destruction that follows in the wake of those who seek to explore." The venom in its tone was unmistakable. The captain's heart sank. Had they come all this way only to be met with hostility? He knew that first impressions were crucial, and it seemed they had already stumbled. He raised his hands in a non-threatening gesture. "We mean no harm. We have encountered many dangers in our journey, and seek only to understand and coexist." The elders' conversation grew heated, their forms swirling with a mix of colors that the captain had learned to associate with anger. The creature that had brought them here stepped forward, its weapon arm charging with energy. The captain's crew took a collective step back, their fear palpable. "Please," the captain implored, "we are not here to cause trouble. We wish to learn from you, to share what we know, and perhaps find a way to return home. We have no desire to impose ourselves upon your world." The lead elder's form grew still, its eyes narrowing as it considered the captain's words. The creature's weapon arm deactivated, the energy dissipating into the air. The silence that followed was more unnerving than the cacophony that had preceded it. The captain's crew held their collective breath, waiting for the verdict. Suddenly, the elder's chamber was pierced by an alarm, a high-pitched wail that sent the creature's squad into a frenzy. The city's lights flickered, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The captain's heart skipped a beat as he realized that something was terribly wrong. "Intruders have breached the city's perimeter," the AI's voice echoed in the captain's ear. The elder's gaze snapped to the view screen behind them, displaying a fleet of unidentified spacecraft descending upon the planet. The hostile intent was unmistakable. The captain's eyes widened in horror. They were not alone in their unwelcome visit. Without waiting for an invitation, the captain turned to the elders. "We can help. Our ship has weapons and defenses that could aid in repelling this attack. Let us stand together." The lead elder's gaze swiveled back to him, the anger replaced by something akin to respect. It nodded once, curtly, and the creature that had greeted them spoke. You will prove your worth as allies. The squad of creatures escorted the captain and his crew back to the shuttle at a brisk pace, the urgency of the situation clear. As they took off, the captain could see the alien fleet approaching, their weapons charging. He knew they had to act fast if they were to prevent the destruction of this advanced civilization. The shuttle shot through the sky, the city's defenses already engaged in a fiery ballet with the enemy ships. The captain's heart raced as he barked orders into his comms, coordinating with his ship in orbit. The air was thick with the scent of burning metal and the screams of dying vessels. The shuttle docked with their spaceship, the crew springing into action. The captain relayed the situation to his second-in-command, his voice tense with urgency. "We've got to help them. Prepare for battle." The ship's systems hummed to life, the engines powering up for combat. On the view screen, the enemy fleet grew larger, their ships a chaotic mess of spikes and pulsing lights. The captain took his place at the helm, his crew at their stations. The alien city's defenses were formidable, but they were no match for the sheer number of attackers. The first volley of enemy fire streaked towards the city. The captain's ship responded with a barrage of its own, the screen lighting up with a dance of explosions. The alien fleet was relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. The captain's heart hammered in his chest as he navigated the ship through the chaos, dodging incoming fire and targeting the enemy's weak points. The city below was a maelstrom of destruction, the once peaceful landscape scarred by the ravages of war. The captain's mind raced as he calculated the odds. They had to hold out long enough for the city's defenses to adapt, to find a way to repel this unexpected invasion. An enemy missile locked onto the shuttle's tail, a blinking red light on the console, the only warning they had before it struck. The captain's reflexes took over, and he yanked the controls, sending the shuttle spiraling through the sky. The missile streaked past, the heat from its explosion searing the air around them. The crew collectively exhaled as the captain righted their course, their hearts racing from the near-death experience. The shuttle docked with their spaceship, and the captain didn't wait for the airlock to fully engage before sprinting to the bridge. His crew followed, their boots thudding against the metal floor. The captain's voice was a mix of relief and urgency as he spoke. "We've got to get out of here before we're caught in the crossfire. Set a course for the wormhole now." The ship's engines roared to life, and the captain felt the familiar pull of gravity as they launched into orbit. The enemy fleet was closing in, a swarm of death intent on the city's annihilation. The captain's eyes never left the view screen, his jaw clenched as he watched the battle unfold. The city's defenses were valiant, but the enemy ships were too numerous, too powerful. The ship's AI spoke calmly amidst the chaos. Wormhole coordinates locked in. Estimated time to arrival, 15 minutes. The captain nodded grimly, his eyes never leaving the city. They had to survive long enough to make it to the wormhole, to warn their people of the danger that lurked in the cosmos. The enemy fleet grew closer, their firepower concentrating on the city's defenses. The captain's ship danced through the sky, dodging and weaving with a grace that belied its size. The captain's hands were a blur over the controls, his eyes darting from the screen to the incoming fire, his mind racing through strategies. A particularly nasty blast rocked the ship, and the captain felt his stomach drop as the ship's shields flickered and dimmed. The crew shouted in alarm, but the captain remained stoic, his focus unwavering. "Hold on," he barked, his voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at his insides. The ship groaned as it took another hit, sparks flying across the bridge. The captain's knuckles whitened on the controls, his breath shallow. They had to make it. For their crew, for their newfound allies, for the possibility of peace between their worlds. The wormhole grew before them, a swirling maw of color and energy. The enemy fleet was closing in, their relentless pursuit driving the captain to the edge of his sanity. "Now!" he shouted to his pilot. The ship lurched forward, plunging into the unknown. The wormhole's embrace was a tumultuous ride, the fabric of reality stretching and twisting around them. The ship's lights flickered, and the crew was thrown about, their screams lost in the cacophony of alarms. The captain clung to his chair, his eyes squeezed shut, as the universe around them was torn apart and reassembled. When the ship emerged on the other side, the chaos of battle was replaced with an eerie calm. The captain opened his eyes, his heart racing. The wormhole had closed behind them, a silent sentinel in the void. He took a deep breath and turned to the view screen. The alien planet was nothing but a speck of light, receding into the distance. They were alone again, adrift in a sea of stars. The crew looked to him, their faces a mix of fear and hope. The captain's gaze fell to the damaged console before him. The ship's sensors were offline, and the navigation system was a tangled mess of error messages. They had no way of knowing where the wormhole had taken them. "Damage report," the captain bellowed, his voice echoing through the bridge. The crew responded in a cacophony of updates. The ship had taken a beating, but she held together. The captain's mind raced. They had to find a way home, or at least a way to repair their ship. They couldn't just drift in space, waiting for death or salvation. The communications officer spoke up, her voice trembling. "We're receiving a message, sir." The captain's gaze snapped to her. "Put it on screen." The alien signal from before filled the room, the same symphony of clicks and tones. The translator worked overtime, and then, a clear message: "Thanks to you, the wormhole is unstable. Our planet is doomed. You may not return." The captain felt a pang of disappointment, but he knew better than to ignore the warning. They had made a hasty retreat, leaving newfound friends to face an unknown enemy. He vowed to find a way back, to help them, to learn from them. The bridge grew quiet, each crew member lost in their thoughts. They had been tested, and they had survived. But at what cost? The ship's AI beeped, interrupting the silence, picking up an asteroid field ahead. Sensors detecting valuable minerals. The captain's eyes narrowed. This could be their salvation. "Set a course," he ordered, his voice firm. They would need resources to repair the ship and navigate this unknown space. The asteroids grew closer, a jagged wall of rock and ice. The ship's mining drones launched with a hiss, their lights piercing the dark. The captain watched as they darted and weaved through the asteroids, their tiny forms insignificant against the backdrop of the cosmos. The crew worked in harmony, each member playing their part in the delicate ballet of survival. The drones returned, their cargo holds brimming with minerals that could repair the ship and power their journey. The captain felt a flicker of hope. They could do this. They could find a way through this. The engineers went to work, their hands a blur of motion as they tinkered with the damaged systems. Days turned into weeks, and the ship grew into a beacon of human determination against the backdrop of the cold, indifferent stars. The captain's thoughts often drifted to the alien city, to the creatures they had left behind. Would they ever find a way back? Would they ever understand the message behind those cryptic symbols? The ship's computer blipped, alerting them to an anomaly on the edge of their sensor range. The captain's pulse quickened. Another wormhole? A new planet? Or a trap? He called for a status update, his crew tense. They had learned the hard way that the universe was full of surprises, and not all of them were friendly. The anomaly grew larger, and the ship's computer confirmed it was indeed a wormhole. But it was unstable, pulsing erratically. The captain knew the risks of jumping into the unknown, but they had no choice. The ship's engines groaned in protest as they approached the swirling maw. It was now or never. With a heavy heart, he gave the order to engage. As they were sucked in, the ship's lights flickered and alarms blared. The captain felt the fabric of reality stretch around them, a cold terror gripping his soul. They emerged on the other side, the ship's hull groaning from the strain. The screens flickered to life, revealing a galaxy that was eerily similar to the one they had left behind. But something was off. The stars were too dim, the colors too muted. The captain's heart sank as the screens filled with blips. A fleet of ships, but not the majestic vessels of their new allies. These were dark, menacing shapes, and their sensors were locked onto them. The alien signal grew louder, now a cacophony of angry hisses and snarls. The message was clear. They were not welcome. The captain's mind raced, searching for a way to communicate, to explain their plight. The hostile fleet closed in, their weapons charging. The captain's crew was battle-hardened, but the ship was still damaged from the previous encounter. They wouldn't stand a chance against this overwhelming force. The captain opened a channel, his voice broadcasting into the void. "We come in peace. We are lost. We need your help." But the response was only the deafening silence of the stars. The enemy ships opened fire, their beams cutting through the void. The captain's ship jolted, taking a hit. The crew braced themselves, their eyes on their captain, waiting for his orders. He knew they were outmatched, but he wouldn't give up without a fight. He ordered evasive maneuvers, the ship weaving through the asteroids, trying to lose their pursuers. The asteroid field was their only hope, a natural obstacle that could give them the advantage. But the enemy ships were relentless, their technology superior. The captain's ship took another hit, and the lights dimmed. The crew's panic grew, but the captain's resolve remained unshaken. In the midst of the chaos, a strange calm settled over the captain. He knew their situation was dire, but he also knew that fear would only hasten their demise. He took a deep breath and made a split-second decision. He ordered the ship to dive into the densest part of the asteroid field, the one place where the enemy might hesitate to follow. The ship shuddered as it was bombarded with rock and debris. The captain's knuckles turned white on the controls, his eyes darting from the screens to the asteroids that hurtled towards them. The ship's AI screamed warnings, but the captain's focus was unyielding. They had to make it through. They had to survive. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the asteroid field opened up into a clear space, a hidden pocket in the chaos. The enemy fleet slowed, unable to risk the tight maneuvering required to follow. The captain allowed himself a small smile, a flicker of hope in the vast darkness. The ship limped away from the asteroid field, its engines smoldering, the hull scarred. The captain called for damage reports, his voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. The crew responded with a mix of relief and grim determination. They had survived, but their troubles were far from over. The ship's sensors detected a planet nearby, its mass just large enough to sustain them for a while. The captains set a new course, their destination no longer home, but survival. As they descended into the planet's atmosphere, the crew watched in wonder as the untouched beauty of the alien world unfolded before them. It was a stark contrast to the harsh reality of their situation. They landed with a thud, the ship's systems groaning. The captain knew they had to act fast. They had to repair the ship, find food and water, and set up defenses against any threats that may come their way.